As we're about 3 weeks away from NFL free agency being here, I thought it would be a good chance to do one of my favorite videos of the offseason, my perfect free agency plan for the New York Football Giants. You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. Let's set the stage with this, because I can already hear people crying in the comments, but Marshall, how are we going to sign any players? We don't have any cap space. Well, that's where you sit right now. Over the cap has the New York Giants at $5.1 million in cap space, while Spotrac has them at $7 million in cap space. But if you were someone that watched this show, had those notifications turned on, and you watched the videos, you would know the New York Giants could very easily clear an additional $50+ million in cap space. Restructuring Brian Burns saves $18.2 million. Restructuring Andrew Thomas, $11.7 million. A restructure just pushes their cap hit into a larger number in future years, something that would be a great idea for a guy like Brian Burns or a guy like Andrew Thomas that you want here for the long term. The player doesn't sacrifice anything. Cut Bobby Okereke at $9 million. His $15 million cap hit, it's just a no-can-do. James Hudson, we'll see you. Devin Singletary, I really appreciate what you did, but for $5.2 million in savings, it's a no-brainer. Graham Gano, we got Ben Sauls, adios. And then I think you should move on from Roy Robertson Harris to save $3.3 million. I think you could just use a different archetype of defensive tackle than him. And then a guy like Chris Board, you could save $2.1 million. And there are other moves that you can make, but if you were to just make all of these moves right here, you give yourself about $60 million in cap space heading into free agency. There's still a Dexter Lawrence extension. That would save money this year. You could move on from John Runyon and save $9 million. There are more moves that you can make. And the New York Giants, they have like no dead money this year. They have no dead money next year. And next year, their salary cap help is in a very good spot. Probably the best thing Joe Schoen has done. And I expect for them to start backloading these contracts, adding void years to these contracts to actually start competing. There's a lot of needs on this football team right now. I think they have a solid core. I think there are some things to be excited about. But you need another defensive tackle. You need an inside linebacker. You need to fix that right side of the offensive line as you have question marks around Eluemunor and Greg Van Roten. You need a starting corner, and you need more offensive playmakers. And there's more things that you need just than that. So let's dive into it. First, let's start with the free agents that are the big name guys for the Giants. Jermaine Eluemunor, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Cor'Dale Flott. I am sure if you were able to ask the New York Giants, they would want all three of these players back. I think it's more likely, though, that at least one is gone. And if I were the GM and I'm just kind of forecasting what their markets are going to be, I don't see a way that I could pay Wan'Dale Robinson what he is going to be worth in free agency. I think a team is going to give Cor'Dale Flott a lot of money. And I think Flott is a solid player, but I think he's going to get overpriced. And that is what we see in free agency. You see C-level players sign B-level contracts. You see B-level players sign A-level player contracts. Look, I think Cor'Dale Flott is going to be a good player in this team for a long time. I would like to bring him back. But are you paying him $11, $12 million a year? He just hasn't produced that yet. Number one of these guys, though, I want to bring back Jermaine Eluemunor. You do not mess with the offensive line when you have a young quarterback. And Eluemunor was one of the best pass-blocking right tackles in the National Football League last year. A lot of speculation and different numbers on what his contract could be. The Athletic, PFF, and Spotrac has all put out contract projections for the top free agents. We're going to reference these a lot on today's show. The Athletic thinks he's going to get $21 million, while PFF thinks he's going to get $12 million per year. And Spotrac thinks it's going to be just shy of $9 million per year. I think PFF is probably the closest number here, but to be honest with you, I'd be A-okay with any of these numbers. Bring back 72. You need a right tackle that could protect, and he is that guy. I'm going to double down and build in the trenches. Bring me Tyler Linderbaum. Go get the best center in the National Football League. Have the best left tackle in Andrew Thomas. Have the best center. Have a top 5 right tackle when it comes to run blocking. And now you are cooking with gas. You are able to do a lot of things when you have an offensive line that good. It's going to be an expensive number for Tyler Linderbaum, and for good reason. He's a beast. He is a dominant run blocker. The Giants on their interior offensive line last year, They didn't have people that moved people. They had good pass protectors. Runnion's a good pass protector. Van Roten was a good pass protector. JMS was just a body out there. And I think there was a major upgrade from JMS to Linderbaum, and you could have him as your starting center for the next 8 years. It's not going to be cheap, though. I think anywhere from $18 million to $22 million per year is what it's going to cost to get him. But, man, if you tell me that you add Linderbaum to this team and you go add another right tackle, you become a physical, downhill football team. Scadaboo is a physical player. Linderbaum is a physical player. Andrew Thomas is a physical player. We know how hard it is to stop Jackson Dart in the red zone as a runner. You're starting to build an identity. I think Tyler Linderbaum is a must signing. I'm then going to the wide receiver department. I'm not looking necessarily for a Wan'Dale Robinson replacement. We'll talk about a veteran slot option that I think would be good for the Giants, but I want an outside receiver. I want someone that could play the boundary. I want someone that could stretch the field vertically, and I want someone that excels in 50-50 ball situations. Romeo Doubs, he checks all of those boxes. At 6'2", 205 pounds, still just 25 years old, I think the best days of his football playing career are ahead of him, and he's already had some big-time games in the National Football League. I like the contrast of him and Malik Neighbors. How many times have we seen Jackson Dart want to throw 50-50 balls to his wide receivers down the field? That is what Romeo Doubs does best. The catch numbers aren't crazy. There's a lot of mouths to feed in Green Bay, but when he was featured and he was a big part of the game plan, he produced in a major way. The last 3 years for Romeo Doubs, he has been targeted 76 times in contested catch situations. He's caught 52.6% of them. That would be 10th best in the NFL. The Giants need a red zone target. They need a 50-50 ball guy. How long have we been talking about it? We want someone that's a bigger wide receiver. Romeo Doubs, he is that guy. Contract projections from him range anywhere from 4 years to $61 million and 4 years and $48 million. PFF has him getting about $15 million per year. I think this would be the high end. I think Spotrac is probably the closest with this number. 4 years, 40, I think $12 million is right. I could also see 3 years, 45. I'd be fine with any of these numbers. Athletic is a little bit high, but I think Doubs is worth it. I want him on this football team. We have some other big-time players to talk about. First, though, I got to give a huge shout-out to our sponsor of today's show, and that is Chubbies. Guys, I got to be real with you. The first time I put on a pair of Chubbies shorts, I actually said wow out loud. Instant good mood. The stretch, the softness, my thighs finally getting fresh air and actual respect. It was a game changer. Chubbies is celebrating 15 years with the originals back. The same iconic comfort and 2.6 million happy customers. You can't go wrong, especially with the promo code they've got going on right now. 20% off when you use the code ChatSports. That's 20% off with the code ChatSports at chubbyshorts.com. Summer's right around the corner. Get your bathing suits. They've got some awesome ones. They're comfortable, they're stylish, and they're the ones that I only wear these days. So for a limited time, our listeners get 20% off with code ChatSports at chubbyshorts.com. That's 20% off with code ChatSports at chubbyshorts.com. Go give your thighs the VIP treatment they deserve and tell Chubbies ChatSports sent you. All right, let's go to the defensive side of the ball. Over the last week, I've been kind of doing some prep for this video, and Jaylen Watson has become my number one defensive target for the Giants. The boundary corner, most recently and throughout his career with the Kansas City Chiefs, he's exactly what this team needs. I think he has CB1 potential if he is already not on that level. He's a big corner, a physical corner, a long corner at 6'2", nearly 200 pounds, still just 27 years old. He was a 7th-round pick out of Washington State. I like the grind that he has. He is physical. He's willing to get dirty in the run game. He plays press coverage, and he is sticky in man-to-man coverage. He can also play zone. This was his breakout year in the NFL. He allowed a completion percentage of just 59.3%. Only allowed 447 yards this year, 0 touchdowns, 6 PBUs, 2 interceptions, and he allowed a quarterback rating when targeted of just 69.0. He is someone that I'm extremely interested in. I like Paulson Adebo, but you got to go out And that another corner. I also like how physical he is in the run game. He had 19 stops this year. A stop, a tackle, that's considered a negative play for the offense. An example would be like if it was 4th and 5 and Watson had a tackle that resulted in a 4-yard gain. An 83.5 PFF run grade. He really is a Swiss Army knife as that outside corner. And he could be getting a bag. The Athletic thinks he can get 4 years, $73 million, while Spotrac thinks it's more close to 3 years and $37.4 million. I think about $15 million is a sweet spot for him. The Giants desperately need a CB1. I think Jaylen Watson has that type of juice. He'd bring a physicality, a winning mindset, and I think another person that would be a leader for this defense. He's won a couple years in Kansas City. Let's go back to the offensive line. I'm telling you, I'm trying to build an identity with this football team. I want to be physical. Isaac Seumalo, the former Philadelphia Eagles guard, spent the last couple of years with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He is exactly what this New York Giants team needs. At 6'4", 303 pounds, he can move a little bit, but he is a violent football player, man. If he gets his hands off you, gets his hands on you, you're not getting him off you. 32 years old, so a little bit older, but I still think a prime for an offensive lineman is anywhere from 30 to 33 years old. Not looking to give him a 5-year deal, but man, you want to come be here for 2 or 3 years, join Tyler Linderbaum, Jermaine Eluemunor, and Andrew Thomas, and try to build one of the best offensive lines in the National Football League, come on down. We're going to play physical. We're going to get downhill, and we're going to run right behind you. 44 is going to run behind you. 29 is going to run behind you, and so is number 6. Seumalo, I think, would be a great addition to this team. He's been one of the more consistent interior offensive linemen over the last couple of years in the National Football League. The Athletic thinks he can get a 2-year, $28 million deal. PFF has him as a 1-year, $8 million. I guess that's all it takes deal. Spotrac 3 years, $28 million. So numbers coming out all over, but I think anywhere from $8 to $12 million is probably close to his average annual value. So you've added a right guard. I'm going back to the defense now, and we're going into the trenches, the defensive tackle room. I thought about going and trying to sign a big-time player on the D-line, but I just didn't think it made the most sense for the Giants. I think that's a position that you may look to target at the top of round 2, but you need a run stopper. And Sebastian Joseph-Day, he might be the best in the entire free agency cycle at defensive tackle. Played the last 2 years with the Tennessee Titans. He has that connection to Denard Wilson. Now, if Wilson doesn't like him and he doesn't think he's a good fit, this doesn't matter. But I saw Sebastian Joseph-Day have some of his best years of his career with the Tennessee Titans, and he would bring a major boost to your run-stopping ability as a defense. You put him next to Dexter Lawrence, you have a formidable defensive tackle duo. Hopefully Darius Alexander takes a step as well. But Sebastian Joseph-Day, he's a really good player against the run. Finished 4th in stop rate among interior defensive linemen with at least 150 run snaps. He ranked in the top 20 in combined run tackles that went for a loss or no gain. So he's going to give you some push, and he's going to give you another player that can help you stop the run. I'm interested in that, and I don't think it's going to be too expensive. Anywhere from $6.5 million to around $8 million per year, and I think it would be a shorter deal for him, but I think it would be worth it. There's some other defensive tackles that you could target, but he is probably highest on my board when you talk about not breaking the bank, but getting good time production specifically for what you need. We did lose Wan'Dale Robinson in this video, so I'm looking to replace him with a little bit more of a veteran presence. I don't think that he is on the same level that he once was being Christian Kirk, and I do think Wan'Dale Robinson is a better player. But I think Kirk is much better than the stats that he put up with the Houston Texans last year. Still just 29 years old. He can still separate in man-to-man coverage. We saw him have some big-time moments in the playoffs against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I would like to have him in the slot. You go Malik Neighbors, Romeo Doubs, Christian Kirk. Heck, you could bring back Darius Slayton in that as that 4th wide receiver role. Add another guy on day 3 of the NFL draft. That's a serious wide receiver room. I also want to bring in one of the biggest freaks to ever play in the NFL. Calais Campbell has that relationship with John Harbaugh, spent some time with the Baltimore Ravens. I know he's 39 years old, but at 6'8", 315, you have a rotating defensive tackle group of Dexter Lawrence, Sebastian Joseph-Day, Calais Campbell, Darius Alexander. You draft another one, you've got some beasts and a lot of problems that a lot of other interior offensive linemen are going to have to deal with at 39 years old. 16 quarterback hits, a handful of sacks, makes plays around the line of scrimmage, and a leader and a winner and someone that can hold people accountable on defense. My plan is this: build up the trenches, offense, defense, get some veterans in here that have won before, and give Jackson Dart some weapons now, and ones that could be a part of this team for the foreseeable future. Let's get back to winning. Let's be a physical team. Let's push people off the line of scrimmage, and let's give Jackson Dart some weapons. Grade the free agency plan for me: A, B, C, D, or F. Sound off. Be critical. Someone give me an F, because it might just be the worst plan in the world. Make sure you are following me on social media. You can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at @MarshallGreen_.